You didn't
I
set it up the opposite of what I told
I just
you.
had, no, I said, is that the way you want it?
Yeah, I didn't notice that it was.
Well, do you want to change
No,
it?
it's fine. You positioned it just fine. Here's a theoretical question. So let's suppose that, like Jack Ma,
Mm-hmm.
machines are in place and are doing all the jobs, or
Work.
most of the jobs,
Mm-hmm. Work.
And humans' job is to enjoy yourself.
To enjoy yourself.
So you have all the money you need, all your needs are taken care of. Now what? What would you do? And that's kind of how we left everybody last week. Think about if all this was taken care of, what would you do? How would you fill your time?
Yeah. So how did you do with that question? Now, the interesting thing is I'm going to presuppose that people our age cannot answer that question. Oh, we'll say, oh, no, I would
travel
do this,
and
I would
buy a
travel.
new car.
Okay, so you've done all your traveling. You've already bought your fourth car. You have the ideal house. In fact, you've torn it down and you rebuilt it, and now it's the ideal house. And the question is, okay, I have everything. I am not wanting for anything. How will I live my life in this minute? And my assumption is going to be, I don't know how to answer that question.
So why do you guess that people over 50 would say that?
Because I'm dealing with that.
Aha.
See, so when I sit and I say, am I happy? Am I doing what I want to do? And if I could step away from everything, step away from mastering alchemy, step away from, we don't have a lot of debt, so that's not a challenge in my space. What would I do? Is even like sitting on the beach, which we did now for a number of weeks, and nothing happened.
There's nothing to do there.
Nothing to do there except enjoy the beach and enjoy the walks and watch all the really interesting different animals that we've never seen before. And then come back and sit down and say, now what? This minute, now what? They're really in my space. I mean, I can make this work, but the question of now what was daunting. And so most people, I'm going to make an assumption, don't even push themselves to that place to really sit in a disconnected reality and say, now what do I do? And I watch people at our age running into a significant challenge in terms of we have that available. It's called retirement. Well, but no, I don't have enough money. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say the don'ts aren't the problem. What are you going to do with yourself? Now, let's back that down into the conversation we're having about technology and directions and new human species and these kind of things. The artificial intelligence is going to take away hundreds of millions of jobs. And it's interesting, there is a study that was just done where they went in and asked workers, do you think robotics and artificial intelligence is going to threaten your job? 94% said no.
And this was in a factory.
This was in a factory. The jobs that are going to disappear first are factory jobs, mining jobs, fast food jobs, accounting jobs, service-oriented jobs that have a rote structure to them. You're talking 5 to 7 years, a great portion of those jobs are going to disappear.
And these people were naive.
Well, they were ordinary. Let's be really kind to them. They're naive because they don't. Average people.
The one woman said, I fold boxes. My part of this process in the factory is I fold boxes, and there's no machine that can be made that can fold a box better than I can.
Because she had tissue paper that she was able to very cleanly put in. No machine can do that. There are machines that do that right now.
Yeah.
You look at Amazon warehouse system, Amazon, all the things they deliver, to a great extent, one of their biggest warehouses has 6 people doing all that.
Wow.
I mean, you're talking about 1 million square feet of products that get sent out and delivered to you within 2 days. 6 people running that business. So this transformation that we're about to see is really, really enormous. Now, let's back down from the I'm living my life, taking music lessons, enjoying myself. To a great extent, my supposition is you and me are not going to have that experience. We're going to move right through it to the end of our lives. We'll have the advantages of all the new technology, and we will have some of the challenges of it also. Mm-hmm. But it's really the millennials.
Yeah.
They're the ones, and they're already being, as we said last week, being structured. They want to just travel. They want to have a good time. They want to enjoy life. So is it already hardwired into the young people to basically step into mm-hmm. a society that doesn't require them to sweat and toil and work as we've understood work?
Right.
And they don't like worrying.
Yeah.
And so you've got that whole side of it where everybody looks at the millennials and go, what's wrong with them? Well, maybe what's right with them?
Right. Maybe they're in a intuitive way preparing for this next step, so they can easily just flow right into it.
Yeah. Now, all along, our position in Mastering Alchemy is to people our age, kind of 45, 50 and older.
Higher.
You hold the dream. You hold the concept of this reality coming into place. Massive opportunity and responsibility. And so, but there's going to be a transformation. So the question is, if you had that, can you do it? Now, where people I watched when I asked this question go is, but what if I lose my job? And chances are you're going to lose your job. If you're in any of these, vast mm-hmm. categories, you're going to get displaced. The next iteration is where the real challenge is going to be, is this interface between government and business. See, government doesn't want to tax, and they've done outrageous things right now. They just increase the amount of spending to fix everything and decrease the amount of income in the United States to challenge people who they've got no money. Mm-hmm. Is really what it's coming down to. Is we're going to face some very challenging times in the next couple of years. But that space is something where the government job corporation interface. Corporations have got to get out of the stockholder mindset and get into participation in community development.
Yeah.
And many of them are already doing that in wonderful ways. I mean, you just watched J.P. Morgan and Amazon, I think, and two others mm-hmm. basically say we're going to form a nonprofit healthcare system. So you're watching the society being ripped apart, and the funding mechanisms to support people's well-being is being ripped out from under them.
See, something that has to happen when the robots start taking over jobs, it sounds like a sci-fi movie, something that has to happen is there has to be a universal basic income.
Somehow people have to be taken care of.
Somehow people
mm-hmm.
have to get an amount of money every month, every adult, to support themselves.
Yeah. Now, this isn't welfare. That concept is not welfare.
No. But what I can't, the doubt in me is like, corporations, government, they're not going to give people something for not working. The level of greed.
That's the challenge. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see some really smart people who are running a lot of these businesses, not from greed, but from profit orientation. They're beginning to really realize you can't take tens of thousands of warehouse jobs away and give it to 6 people and robots. What is about that displacement? And so the displacement issue is going to be what you're going to be really observing over the next mm-hmm. 5-6 years. You're going to see really tremendous clash on one hand between governments and old ideologies that say, let's go back to the old way, and the reality of the artificial intelligence-paced mm-hmm. consciousness that's now coming into play. So that's where the clash is going to be. And in the interim class, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be displaced. So how do you take care of those? Right. And you can't do it the way it's currently being done. It's like opioids. This is a massive crisis, but it's not a massive crisis of the blacks or the Mexican Americans or the low income. It's the American population.
Yes, it's across
and all of a sudden it hits every congressional district, it hits every, and something has to be done. You can't just sweep it under the
So this would be
rug.
the same sort of thing.
Same kind of thing. You're going to get these huge unemployment spikes if it's not addressed, and then you're going to have social unrest in a lot of ways. And the government corporate place is the interface. And you're actually seeing, there are smart people in government. There really are. I saw one once. No, there are really smart Congress people in there, but the system is so broken that a smart person can't be heard because she has to go through the hierarchy.
Yeah.
And that's going to break. You have people like Jack Ma and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and many, many people that are basically saying, I have the money and I'm going to take responsibility for redirecting this. So that's all good. But between the me and you here listening to this, the real message here is pay attention. The opportunity in 10, 15, 20 years from now, and maybe even a little bit longer, of machines are about work and people are about living.
Yeah.
That's going to come about unless the direction of AI splits off into the negative side, where domination, greed is the consciousness that drives the thinking iteration of the machines.
Right.
And that has happened in the fall of consciousness. There are still places in the fall of consciousness where there is no soul. There is machine technology that drives from pure greed, pure domination, pure enslavement. That exists, not in your reality. You'll never see it. But that's where that line of structure went off. We're at a place where there's a choice to be made. And to a great extent, I think the reason we're having this conversation is, even though I'm saying you and I are not going to have that moment of, isn't this great? I just had a wonderful music lesson and I'm happy. Hopefully you'll hit that. But our task is to make sure that this direction doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's holding the consciousness. It's believing rather than going into the fear and the worry. It's really believing that even with your last breath, if you hold that consciousness, you did not fail. It's that important to be able to be there.
Yeah.
So, this is a good set of discussions. There's a lot more to this. Maybe we'll explore it more. I'm interested in what you think.
Yeah. What would you do if all your needs were taken care of and you could do anything you wanted?
Yeah. And how are you holding the dream, even though there's shrouded in worry and concerns and looking at the external world, seeing things that really don't make a lot of sense and are very much going in the opposite direction that your belief in well-being is. Can you know well-being will happen by just holding it, even with your last breath? And that's really kind of what is going to be, I think, the topics of the next 10 to 15 years. So we'll talk about this, I think, probably many more times.